On Weigh In this morning, Tiako make it a remarkable 8 from the last 9 in the Manawatu sires, seizing the day, this time in blitzing style. She deals them a Group 1 blow as Kings Clear and George Rook combine to claim the Fillies and Mares title. An undercard of stakes stories all to look back on from an intriguing day's racing on the Champagne turf. And 3 thrilling Group 1s from Australia featuring Belle Chevelle tasting success and Pride of Jenny just going down in thrilling fashion. Welcome into Weigh In this morning. Plenty to look back on out of Trentham and from across the ditch as well. As you can see, just Emily Murphy with me in studio this morning, but Jayne Ivil is down country for us. Emily, though, starting with you, you were at the Champagne turf yesterday, and Tiako once again getting the success for the 2-year-olds. Yeah, incredible win too, wasn't it? Obviously sees the day pulling away to a really big margin in terms of his win, but there's some lovely stories on the undercard as well, which we're going to talk about this morning. It was a tricky day to find a winner. Certainly there was a certain way to ride the track yesterday, and I think we're going to be talking about a number of unlucky horses and horses that we can follow heading forward. And Jayne Ivil is with us as well, but she's down in the Wellington studio. Jayne, a morning to you. What was your highlight out of the day?
Good morning, team. I think there were a number of highlights across what was a terrifically competitive race card there at Trentham yesterday. Probably the 2-year-old for me. He was just so dominant, and he's a really good-looking colt. So I think they're going to have a lot of fun with him going forward. As Emily touched on, there will be a number of runners that we're going to talk about that were really good against the pattern or a bit unlucky because of the way jockeys had to ride the track. And that was a point that we're probably going to have to talk about throughout the morning, is the way that the track played at Trentham, which was a real shame because it's held up really well right the way through the season. And look, maybe in hindsight they shouldn't have run the meeting there 7 days ago and potentially gone into a dual Group 1 meeting fresh. But yeah, there's plenty to touch on and a lot of highlights throughout the day.
Certainly is a lot to talk about, and Jayne mentioned the 2-year-olds, and that's where we can start. The Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes, won by Seize the Day.
The Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes are really exciting. This 2-year-old feature over the 1,400 metres. We start with the 4, which is Seize the Day, our favourite. Geez, it was an impressive win last time in maiden company and took good improvement from that debut run.
I think he's a standout in terms of type, and look, his attitude in the yard was very good. Hopefully he can get the job done.
Seize the Day was pretty frisky heading out onto the track, and his dislodged rider, Opie Boss, not particularly dramatically, but got himself a little bit worked up.
The anticipation pretty high here. One of the great races, of course, one of our 2 Group 1s for the 2-year-olds. Tiako have won 7 of the last 8, and they have the favourite in this. All right, folks, it's Group 1 time again. Ready, set, and they're racing from the 1,400 metres. Now, one of the best out is Summer Schemer along with Capital Express right there. State of Valor and Boston heading forward on Seize the Day. The leader is Summer Schemer. Works down the side. Boston outside the leader with the favourite Seize the Day. 3 out of the open. Capital Express, Pinafore the inside. As they run towards the home turn, then Sweetest Thing. Further back of the field, St. Monica Excite, Speed Demon, Vave. They hit for home in the courtesy for Manawatu Sires and Seize the Day. Seize the Day, Boston. Push the button and the colt exploded. He's 2.5 clear. Seize the Day is clear. Have a look at him go. Seize the Day, 5 lengths on Sweetest Thing. Seize the Day, seizes the moment and seizes another size for the Tangerine. Tiako, do it again.
Clinical victory here in the Group 1 Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes. Pulls away, puts a big margin on the rest of rivals.
Sam, you almost can't quite believe it, just the dominance. Look, it was a well-backed favourite, but gee, he's put a margin in that field, and that's super. It's a wow moment when it comes to our Trentham feature.
On a special moment post-race, father and son, Quinella-ing the race.
We've liked him from day one. We thought he would have been racing a bit earlier than he was. He just took a while for the penny to drop, and he's just going from strength to strength, and you know, it was so exciting to see him put in a performance like that. Opie summed it up well, I thought, and you know, he was in 2 minds at the start, and he made the right choice as he always does, and yeah, just really exciting. It's really cool to Quinella it with Dad, pretty special, and he's almost as excited as me, and he's run second.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I'm really proud of him. He does a great job for Tiako, and he's got the opportunity of a lifetime, and you know, he's taken it in both hands and he's kicking goals, so congratulations to him, and hopefully I can beat him one day.
Selected to slide forward, and it took a couple of strides for him to come back to me, but once he did, he relaxed beautifully. I think it was the right idea, taking the blinkers off. I wasn't happy with this Manus going to the start, but in the race he was perfect. But he's a lovely big colt, massive stride on him, and he's just so smooth underneath you, and makes my job easy.
Sees the day, beats Sweetest Thing, Speed Demon and Excite in the Group 1 Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes for the 2-year-olds. And he's been a regular feature of the show because Te Akau have been doing so well once again this season. Sam Bergerson is with us again on a Sunday, mate. Very much appreciate you jumping on. Jeezy was dominant. How stoked were you? And I guess were you a little bit surprised by how well he did it?
Yeah, stoked and relieved. He's obviously quite a high-profile colt, and we were really happy with him leading in. We were as confident as we could be. We were just worried about his racing manners post Meta. He was just a little bit keen and really grabbed the bridle early there, and we thought up to the 1400 was probably the only query because his work leading in it had been super, and we were really tossed up with the blinkers and whether leaving them on or pulling them off, and thankfully it paid off pulling them off. He settled really nicely for Opie. And I can't thank the team at home enough. They've done a fantastic job with him, especially the team at the Colt Bone there, Cohen and Tom, and his rider Eamon, who rides him every day. As you saw, he can be a bit of a lad at times. He put on a little bit of performance when he went out into the track, but thankfully he got there safe and sound. And Opie as well, he gave him an A1 ride and summed it up perfectly.
I think as we're going to discuss today, the track played a huge part in how a number of horses were ridden yesterday at Trentham. What were the discussions like as the day unfolded and you could see that it was important to be on pace? Was there much discussion around tactics pre-start?
Yeah, just with the barrier draw, it certainly made it really tricky for him. Like if he'd drawn the first 5 or 6, we were always planning to go forward, but we basically just left it up to Opie and said, look, ideally, you are able to be positive and clear a few. And fair play to Opie, he used the first couple of 100 metres to sum it up. He sort of took his time to get across, and then fair play to the horse as well. He did have to do a bit of energy to get outside Bruno there, and settled so nicely outside the leader. So we always sort of planned to half be positive, but really left it up to Opie for the rest.
Terrific effort, Sam. Congratulations on the Group 1 win with a stunning colt. Now, I know that a lot of the work starts at the yearling sales and selecting the right type of horses, but Te Akau's record in this race is just outstanding. Can you tell us a little bit about your processes with your 2-year-olds and how you get them to peak for their grand finals?
Yeah, obviously you just got to treat them all as individuals. Like he's a big strapping lad, and honestly, he showed us so much early. We thought we'd, be racing around Christmas time and those sort of like eclipse race type things. And we just kept having to sort of back off on him, and we sort of give him little trips in and out of the stable. And then we sort of identified this race sort of around that Christmas period when he wasn't sort of getting to the races and he was still waiting for the penny to drop. But he just showed us so much at home throughout even the early stages. And, he trialled, one of those first trial meetings back in September there. And we certainly took our time with him. And, thankful, I suppose, we've got the systems there. And like you say, a lot of work is done at the sales. But, I'm very fortunate I've, get to follow in some fantastic 2-year-old trainers and Mark and Jamie there as well. And I learned, a lot of, what I know now from them and Dad as well. And, it's all about, putting plans in place and having the systems there to be able to execute those plans. And, we have team talks and trot-ups every Monday and constant meetings and things like that where we, identify sort of target races and work back. And obviously with horses, as you know, Jane, it doesn't always go to plan. So you've got to regroup and reset a bit. And thankfully we made the right call with this fella.
Well, you mentioned your dad in that answer, Sam, and I know that you're a really close-knit family. You support each other, and that was evident even on track yesterday. What was that moment like with your dad running second behind Seize the Day, and the fact that, as you said, he was just as excited for you that you'd won the race, even though he had to settle for runner-up?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. It's awesome doing it with Dad. He loves, seeing the success and sharing in it, I suppose. And yeah, yesterday, and Mum was there as well, so it was really cool.
Did you have that beer with him? I know you said you were hoping to have a beer with him after the race day. Did you manage to sit down and have a cold one?
Yeah, it was awesome. We got to watch Guy Heveldt in the owner's room there and have a good couple of beers before, I jetted off to catch my flight, and he headed home. So yeah, it was really special. It's something I'll never forget.
Sam, I guess Te Akau, as we've heard, have had such good success in this race. You've had a number of 2-year-olds take out that Manawatu size produce. How does this horse compare to maybe some of your previous winners? Can you sort of draw any correlation between other colts that have won?
Yeah, he's just such a big, strapping lad who, I suppose, he reminds me a bit of Move to Strike a couple of years ago. Sort of similar profile, obviously similar stallion. It's so early to sort of, I suppose, compare him to what's next, I suppose. We think he's going to be a nicer 3-year-old. He's got such big, strong frame that we think he's only going to improve and fill out into. So, yeah, just really excited for the ownership group, really, and what's next for him here, hopefully, in New Zealand and, across the Tasman at some stage for sure.
What's next, Sam, is a big question, and I'm keen to find out what discussions are taking place behind the scenes, because he's a 2-year-old that's really only 3 runs into a preparation. Would you consider freshening him up and looking at some Group 1 options in Queensland over their carnival, or will he be put aside and sort of aimed towards a Guineas or something like that in the spring? Yeah,
like you say, some really important discussions to be had. He is only at his 3rd start, like you say, Jane, and he's pulled up really well. It's a long trip home. He got there back to Manawatu in the early hours of this morning, but he trotted out really nicely there this morning. He's a little bit tired, which is understandable. So we're just sort of, letting the dust settle still a little bit and just sort of weighing it all up. I'd imagine, he'll head for a break and hopefully work back from the 2,000 guineas or something like that. But certainly Brisbane is still very much a viable option, and we'll just have to see how he comes through it, the next few days and certainly have a couple of team talks.
Sam, you mentioned Guy Heveldt and watching her yesterday. What did you think on the line and the photo? I know obviously she got pipped in the Kiwi by Well Written, and I think you and Mark thought she had won that, and he said yesterday that he thought she'd been beaten this time. What were you thinking when they hit the line here?
Yeah, I honestly thought she'd got beaten. I thought surely not again. And then I thought even after we'd won, I thought, geez, we're a chance at losing this in the room. And thankfully, she had the rub of the green this time and was on the right side of it, a short margin. But a really awesome win. Stoked for David and Diane, who've, and very grateful to them for entrusting a filly like her to us. And it's just been an incredible ride with her from the Kiwi to yesterday. And she was just faultless leading in, honestly. Obviously, it's unknown going over there and taking on the Aussies, and I hope he wins have been fantastic. But from the Kiwi till we put her on the plane there Monday night, she just kept getting better and better. And her work on Sunday morning on the rail before the races here at Manawatu, 6 days out, was just incredible. And again, I can't thank, David and Diane and the team there at home as well, and especially the team at the Unibarn, Megan and Hayley and Taylor have ridden her most of her work, and Opie and Grillsy had done a lot with her as well. A really special win, and it just topped off an incredible day, really.
What is sort of the intention with her heading forward? Is it to press on to an Oaks maybe, or freshen her up and drop back, or the spelling paddock after what we saw yesterday? Yeah,
I think that the spelling paddock's calling her. Obviously, it would be nice to press up to an Oaks, but we just think it's probably the mile 2000's probably a go. She was all out that last little bit, and fair play to her. She really toughed it out. But I think she's going to head for a spell now and potentially work back from a Golden Eagle or something like that.
All right, mate. Well, we really appreciate you, as always, jumping on the show for us on a Sunday morning. And massive congratulations to you and the team once again. You always seem to do it all the time. But we always enjoy chatting to you, mate. Go well.
Appreciate it, Guy. Thank you.
Good man. Sam Bergerson there out of Team Tiako, obviously with a double success on the day. We'll take a look at the vinery later on in the show in a little bit deeper fashion, but let's go back to the Manawatu Sires produce and take a little bit more of a deeper dive into that, Jane, and Seize the Day beats Sweetest Thing, Speed Demon and Excite. And we've spoken about the ride from Opie Boss and kind of just took it up and took the race by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, he sort of took probably a furlong to make a decision about what he was going to do out of the barriers. He sort of sat and waited and had a look at what the riders were doing on his inside, and then he made the decision to sort of accelerate and push forward with the horse and sit up on speed once a couple of the other jockeys had sort of found their position. It was a bit of a messy race though. We had a couple of 2-year-olds that raced a little bit ungenerously. State of Valour was one of those, Capital Express the other. When Seize the Day came across, Capital Express sort of overreacted to that, and as we saw that horse in the blue colours pop out wide. So there were a lot of horses sort of in the middle that got really affected by that. St Monica, Sweetest Thing, Excites was another one that got crowded for room in the straight. So look, there were a few excuses for a few runners that were crowded, particularly for a 2-year-old race. It was a little bit rough for the 2-year-olds, but Seize the Moment was just far too superior, ridden with confidence, and the way he kicked away from them was just incredible. Look, Ronaldo, he raced 3 wide without cover. I know Craig Grill said he didn't quite travel as well as what he had in his previous races, but look, I thought he stuck on really nicely. Sweetest Thing, there's no doubt that she's going to be a terrific 3-year-old filly when she strengthens up a bit. Even the pair of gallopers out of the Robert Wellwood and Roger James stable, I think they'll improve with a little bit of time as well. I genuinely think that of the 2 Group 1 2-year-old races, this was the race that from the yard I'm really keen to see some of these horses step out in their 3-year-old campaign, because I think there's a few of them that are really going to develop into lovely 3-year-olds. And the other one of those was the Nick Kneebone trained galloper and Speed Demon. He was super where he got in running, and he hit the line really strongly as well. But Emily, you can't take much away from this winner, Seize the Day. The team paid $600,000 for him as a yearling, and you saw him on track yesterday as well. He is just a specimen, a son of I'm Invincible, and he's worth a little bit of money now.
He sure is, and he's just got so much size and scope about him, and you think he's only going to improve when he gets to 3 based on what we saw yesterday. Historically, obviously, the Manawatu Sires produce has been won from horses that have come through some of those major 2-year-old features, the Sistema Stakes, the Matamata Slipper or Breeders' Stakes. But this year, which is quite unusual, sort of has come through a maiden win, and we had at the tail end of the season a lot of those horses from the Sistema elect to go to the paddock, and this new emerging bunch of 2-year-olds come through, which is really nice, because I think it'd be interesting to see if that then leads to some really nice 3-year-olds as well, because that's another sort of element of New Zealand racing, is often the 3-year-olds present in their 3-year-old season rather than being good 2-year-olds. So from what we saw yesterday, I think there's a number of horses in there that have the size and scope and presence to be able to bring that to their 3-year-old season, and some exciting horses to follow.
Yeah, very much so. Looking forward to that season, particularly in that crop. We can hear from some of the beaten jockeys, starting with Winamu Pin on board Sweetest Thing.
Yeah, she's a really nice horse. I was proud of her efforts. She's just still quite green, doesn't really know how to let down, but I think when she comes back as a 3-year-old, she'll get her Group 1.
Yeah, delighted with him. Look, it was a rough race, it was messy, got back, he's finished off really, really well. Looks to have sort of guineas written all over him. He's a big frame of a horse. If he strengthens up, he's going to be good fun in the spring.
Look, he's run a really big race. Everywhere I wanted to go from the 600 sort of shut in my face. He was really good the last 100 metres. To go into a mile next year will suit him perfectly.
Probably didn't get the ideal trip I would have liked from the outside draw, but he'd cover pretty much the whole race. He just didn't sort of travel as well into the race as I would have liked him to, like he's shown in his first couple of starts. So didn't disgrace himself by any means. He's going to be a lovely 3-year-old, so I think he's going for a nice well-earned spell in the paddock now.
The beaten jockeys there out of the Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes. Seize the Day beating Sweetest Thing, Speed Demon and Excite. We will take a quick break here on Weigh In. On the other side, we continue to look back at Trentham.
New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders Stakes, and those fillies and mares are in the parade ring, and boy, what a competitive contest it is. Number 16, She's a Dealer, did its best work late last time to the races.
I reckon George Rock will show some early intent here.
Yeah, look, I'm a huge fan of this mare. I think she's a lovely type, and she's put her best foot forward in the parade ring this afternoon.
Got to hope she jumps away. There's going to be good speed, so if she can be in the first half a dozen, we'd be very happy, and you know, she's in terrific order.
You can just feel the anticipation in the air. What a horse race we have got. This is it. It's Group 1 time for the final time this season. Racing. Slow Quintessa, missed the kick. Mary Shan on the back foot as well, and getting back is Can She, one of the best starts, Special Secura. Off and around them, Chica Mojito, and She's a Dealer. Well back is Can She, second to last Mary Shan, and Quintessa, the favourite, a massive job to do. She's Stone Motherless last. She's a Dealer, nice and handy today. And then Chica Mojito, 1.5 to the next, Miramount Buller, Murray Molly Provence. Around the corner they come, down to the 400. Afternoon Siesta, She's a Dealer. Special Secura lifting on the inside. She's a Dealer. Special Secura, Afternoon Siesta, and wider is Can She. She's a Dealer in front. She's going to make Mum proud. Her mum won the race and she'll do the same.
A very well-deserved Group 1 winner, and it's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? She's a Dealer. Really, George Rick deserves all honours. He put this horse in the race, and gosh, she's been tough to stick it out.
She hadn't had a lot of luck this prep. She's been running very good races without having luck, and she deserved that. Mum would be very proud. She won it a few years back. She's a fit mare and she's a tough mare, and she's probably ready to go 2000. And we had a big chat. I spoke with Roger and George, and we just sort of thought that if we didn't go forward and put her in the race, we may as well put her on the truck back home.
We thought we'd just take luck out of the equation and sit 3 wide, get her into a rhythm. She's crying out for 2000. And she was very good through to the line. She's tough and she loves running and she loves racing, and she deserved that today. I'm starting to like Trentham a lot more and more every time I come down, but no, I've had a fantastic season, ridden some good horses, very good horses. Lucky to do so, and hopefully next year's even better.
An outstanding winner of the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes. She's a Dealer there, and what a day it was for Rich Hill Stud, who of course bred Aliana, the winner of the Tancred as well. And with us now is the founder and managing director of Rich Hill, that is John Thompson. John, thank you very much for jumping on. Yesterday couldn't have gone much better for you, could it?
Oh no, fantastic day, and as I said to people, fantastic. You know, for the New Zealand industry, 2 great mares, and you know, both raised on the farm, both the same crop. So, you know, it just shows you know, what we can achieve in our country, doesn't it?
It sure does. If we start with the New Zealand Group 1 victory, and of course She's a Dealer, obviously maybe it wasn't a particularly pretty ride, but it was a very effective ride, John. And based off what we saw across the day, this was the way to ride the track. What were you thinking when she was 3 wide without cover?
Well, you know, fortunately, I'd spoken to Robert earlier on, and we'd made that decision, that plan, the way the track was playing out. And I guess the fact she's ready to go 2000 probably played into her hands, because she really outstayed them and you know, showed a lot of bravery to get there.
Tell me a little bit about her backstory. Obviously, she's the progeny of Ace High out of a pretty good mare in Say No More. Just tell me a little bit about her and how you put together the mating and what she was like as a young horse.
Yeah, well, obviously, Say No More was a dual Group 1 winner by our foundation stallion Pentire, and when she finished her racing career, we purchased her. I knew the owners very well, and we purchased her off the racetrack and brought her back, and you know, bred her early on to our stallions. She's got a very promising half sister as well, or sorry, who's won what called Say Satano, who's won 7 races and been stakes placed, and we sold a beautiful Ifraj filly out of her who was stakes placed in Australia. And of course, I really felt the Pentire Ace High cross was going to work beautifully. You know, the Shirley Heights factor back in the background, and Mill Reef crossing so well with Sad as well. So yeah, there was and physically a great mating. So yeah, there is a lot of thought goes into these matings at times, and it's really great when a plan comes to fruition.
John, congratulations, and you mentioned a plan coming to fruition. You've had to wait probably a little bit longer than you anticipated. It's been a journey with her, a trip to Australia for a Queensland Oaks, and of course she's suffered a bit of bad luck along the way, but was the word from the stables always that she was a promising enough mare to get that Group 1? You just had to be patient?
Yeah, exactly. No, Robert and Roger, they always really rated her, and we all. I'm racing her with a bunch of friends. My best mate from school, Peter Merton, who I've known for I hate to think how many years now. So, but you know, as I say, they were always confident that she'd develop into a top liner. But I do remember her first race at Matamata, and we all went along with great expectations. And for some reason, she just didn't perform. That was the only bad race she's ever run in her life. So that was a bit deflating. But obviously, things have moved on since then a great deal.
John, obviously, there was the decision to retain her, which has now proved very profitable, because a Group 1 winning mare in the paddock at home as a breeding proposition is what you need. Tell me about that decision to retain her and what led to that.
Yeah, a little bit of a sadness, really, Emily, because the mother, Say No More, we sent over to Australia to actually go to Wootton Bassett at the time, and we brought her back in foal. And unfortunately, with the filly at foot, she colicked quite badly, and we spent a lot of money trying to save her, but we couldn't. And so, you know, naturally, I wanted to keep this filly because, well, obviously she was a nice filly, but also for that reason. And yeah, but fortunately we do have two other half sisters. The mare's first foal was unraced, but she's the Dam of Lantern Way, who's a group winner by Satono Aladdin. And as I said, the Say Satono is a good mare coming back to the Broodmare Band next year. And obviously we'll really look forward in the future to getting she's a dealer back. But at this stage, we've got some great plans going forward.
John, you're obviously over in Sydney and you had success there as well, at breeding in partnership with Nyako stud Aliana. Gee, she's tough, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, again, you know, and just a great performance by a gutsy filly. You know, the horse Stu by Honour, he's world class. He's travelled the world. He's won Group 1 races all over the place. So to run him down the way she did, and great ride from James McDonald, and look, another great thrill. You know, obviously I brought the mare, the mother, and at the Gold Coast Broodmare Sale and foaled to Castelvecchio, and we folded down at home, and you know, sold that filly at the sales, and probably weren't really expecting it to achieve such heights, but it's great when they do.
In terms of celebrations, John, we know that there's plenty of lows in this business. So you've got to celebrate the highs. You were obviously over in Sydney for the sales. Tell us, what were the celebrations like last night?
Oh, look, we ran into a bunch of fellow Kiwis at the races, you know, Albert Posty and the team from Go Racing, and caught up with Stephen Marsh, Dylan Johnson and co, and we Bruce Perry and his wife Anna, that I've known a long time. And so, yeah, we had a few celebratory drinks and a lovely dinner, and be heading back out to the Sydney sales shortly.
I'm sure with a bit of a spring in your step. For that broodmare, obviously, Temeli, who is the dam of Aliana, just tell me about what she's up to and the progeny that you've got coming through.
Yeah, well, look, we brought her back to New Zealand, and she went to Poisson 3 times, had 3 fillies. We sold 2 of them, so she's well and truly paid for herself. And we have a yearling filly by Poisson that Greg and I are going to keep. Obviously, you know, you want to keep the fillies to keep that line going. And because she was empty last year, she foaled a bit late. We sent her over to Australia, and we bred her to Dundeel, who obviously is the sire of Castelvecchio. But we just felt that mating going forward would be a little bit more commercial than perhaps breeding back to Castelvecchio. So we'll be looking forward to that foal next season, and haven't decided where she's going. But you may have also seen Satono Aladdin had a group winning 2-year-old at Flemington, which was fantastically exciting for that stallion. So we may be looking at sending it to Satono Aladdin.
Well, you've had a pretty good weekend, I would say, John, and hopefully it continues at the sales today. Go well, mate. Thank you very much for jumping on the show, and well done to you and the team.
No, thanks, guys. And as I say, it's great for the New Zealand breeding industry. And obviously, Belle Chevelle, we bred Mufasa, a close relative, so it was great to see her win a Group 1. And, again, for New Zealand and for David and Diane Archer. So congratulations to everyone concerned.
Yeah, well said, mate. Thank you so much for jumping on. John Thompson there, the founder and managing director from Rosehill Stud, who had a heck of a day. We will take, as I say, a little bit of a deeper dive into the Tancred later on, but we can start now by looking back at the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes here. Jane, won by She's a Dealer, Special Sakura, Afternoon Siesta and Can She. And Emily mentioned it before, it was a pretty good ride here from George Rook to just take the ascendancy of the race.
Yeah, it sure was. He was very positive out the barrier, but there's a little bit happening out of the barrier. A couple of horses sort of a bit crowded and lost a bit of ground at the start. Can She, one of those. Mary Shan, the other. Quintessa, who was probably a little bit disappointing on face value, actually lost her footing leaving the barrier and sort of slipped, and the rider, Opie Blossom, said she just never really recovered from that. So maybe put a line through the run of Quintessa. But George Rook, very positive on She's a Dealer, punched her out of the barriers, put her in a prominent position. She did sit 3 wide on speed, but they're pretty confident they had a horse that was fit enough to cope with that. And it was the winning of the race without a doubt. He certainly didn't give Afternoon Siesta the ground that he did in the cuddle when they faced each other a couple of weeks ago. And she was just there to pounce, and she kicked away from them really nicely. A couple of really brave runs, I thought. Special Sakura, I think she's going to be a really nice mare next season. She was really brave on the fence. Afternoon Siesta, I know that I'm not overly positive about her from a mounting yard perspective. She's only small, but gee, she's brave. She's got a huge heart. It'll be really nice to see how she develops when she comes back next preparation. For me, though, Emily, I thought the run of the race was Can She against the pattern. This is a mare that I've no doubt is in line to be winning another good race in short time, given what we saw from her yesterday.
Yeah, it was just totally against Can She, the way the track was playing, and obviously the jockey elected to put Can She into the race as early as possible and try and sort of negate what was a leader-biased track. But gosh, she's run on so bravely into the minors, so I think she's a mare that you can follow heading forward. She's going to pick up a really nice race, and it's just going to be a matter of time, and there's plenty of nice races at Trentham that she can get involved in. She was definitely the eye-catcher of the race. I think for Special Sakura and Afternoon Siesta, they've taken advantage of being on-pace runners and what unfolded yesterday, and they've got a very valuable Group 1 placing on their resume as a result.
Very much so, rightio. Let's hear from some of the beaten jockeys in behind, starting with Chris Dell on board Special Sakura.
Obviously I drew 11, had to do a little bit from the draw, got away with nice sectionals out in front. Halfway down the straight, I still thought I was a hope. Obviously, She's a Dealer, is a pretty serious horse. She's only been tried over more than 1,400 twice, and she's a black tie listed winner at Ellerslie and now Group 1 place. So next season is going to be very exciting with her.
She went awesome. Hey, look, she's come a long way. It was only a few starts. Guy won a rating 65 on her at Taraneka. So to run third in a Group 1 today, which was a good field, really happy with her, and I'm pretty sure she'll get a Group 1 one day.
Super one, obviously, against the pattern. You know, we knew the draw at the start of the week. I was excited. You know, even though she drew wide, it was the way she raced. She gets back and she flies home, and I thought that was good. But I mean, the way the track is presented, it's just that favourable inside, which sucks. And yeah, it's just the way we had to ride her, and she got moving when I did, and got bustled a bit around the turn, bit of quicksand at the top of the straight. But you know, she probably should have run third. But I mean, it's huge run considering the way the races are running today.
She was very good. We got into a nice spot from that niggly draw and just copped a little bit of a check by Chica Mojito. I'm not too sure what happened. It just ran out and it kind of cost me a length, but she's run on gallantly. I think the track is kind of playing a bit up and in, and it's just hard to make up that ground on those leaders when they kick away, but proud of her efforts, and she's had a bloody good career.
She certainly has, and that leads us perfectly into a little bit of a chat around her. She has had an outstanding career, Provence, and for her to finish fifth in that race as well is a very commendable way to go out.
It is a three-time Group 1 winning mare, obviously the daughter of Savabeel. She's provided connections with obviously the two thrills at Trentham and of course success at Ellerslie as well. And whilst it wasn't maybe the fairy tale ending to her career, I think she's provided so many highs across her career for Stephen Marsh Racing, for Tony Ryder and Milan Park, and of course Social Racing. racing. I did a lovely interview with the social racing team yesterday, and just they were so emotional about it being her last run, and you just can't buy that experience in racing. There is no money that can buy you that thrill of a lifetime to be involved with the 3-time Group 1 winner. So for that syndicate of owners with just small shares, they've been exposed to such a wonderful high in racing. For her, she's off to the chairman's sale, the broodmare sale. She'll be such a valuable prospect there. Obviously, she's the full sister to Damask Rose, a wonderful pedigree. So she's going to be a real highlight lot, no doubt.
I know Brenton Wendy Cooper pretty well, and I know she's taken them on a heck of a ride. So well done to everyone involved in her. We will take another quick break here on Weigh In. On the other side, we look at the undercard. What was a cracking undercard of racing at Trentham.
Geneva's going to lead end to end, and Geneva, the good-looking gelding, he's too good in the Higgins Manawatu Classic. Another great moment on the Champagne turf for this wonderful racehorse. He's a doozy, takes it out. He's a doozy for the Awapuni Gold Cup. Archaic Smile, she's in front. She got there. Archaic Smile won it.
Yeah, cracking group of stakes races on the undercard out of Trentham, featuring, of course, Geneva winning the Manawatu Classic, the Group 3 for the 3-year-olds. And with us now is his trainer, Kylie Hoskin, who is on the way back up country after the success down at Trentham. Kylie, thank you very much for jumping on. He's always been a horse with plenty of promise. Where does that win rank for you?
It was such an exciting day. He has shown so much promise all the time, just things have gone wrong. He doesn't make his own luck sometimes. He's had some average rides, some average weather, just a lot of things have sort of gone wrong with him. So to see it just come together yesterday was incredible.
Kylie, tell me about those times with him and maybe the difficult times with him, because he's a bit of a character, isn't he? Tell us about that.
I think he's such a dude, and he cruises around to the start like he's an old pony, and then sometimes he jumps out the gates and just gets on the steel and takes his jockeys for a run, and it takes him by surprise a little bit. So he can be a bit of a rat bag in that regard, with not listening and wanting to just run his own race. But he's getting better all the time, maturing, learning, honing his craft. So yeah.
Kylie, it's really difficult to pick a horse twice. Obviously, generally the New Zealand Derby is sort of the grand finale. What was the process like post the New Zealand Derby to have him ready for yesterday's race?
Well, he just came through the Derby run so well, and he had a month in between runs leading up to that, so he hasn't done a lot of racing. He does really well. He's very at home. He's very calm. He eats well. He just cruises. So we decided just to, the owners had success, obviously, with Humidor running down the same path. So we decided to have a crack.
Kylie, I know it was a pretty emotional win for you yesterday, your first win at stakes level, and it's come relatively earlier in your career as well. We go back and look at your training record. Although you've held it for a number of years, it's probably only been the last 3 or 4 years that your name's really popped up with the team of horses that you've had. What did it mean to you for this particular horse and the ownership group to secure that victory yesterday at stakes level?
It was just like a dream come true, really. You know, you just all the early mornings, all the blood, sweat, and tears, essentially, time away from your family. You know, you do it all for moments like this. And to do it for Jamara, Mark John, who are newish clients of mine, particularly this horse, he is my favourite. I ride him in a fair bit of his track work as well. So it was just incredible, really emotional, and just couldn't be more pleased for everyone, the team at home, for Jamara. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Tell me about that relationship with Jamara Bloodstock. Obviously, they've had so many good horses over the years, and it must be very satisfying to have a good horse for them.
Yeah, so I didn't really know them, but I had horses for a friend of theirs, Graham Andrews, and he had some horses they wanted to get through to trialling, and he recommended me. So I had a few come into the barn then, and so it's sort of just gone from there.
How can, we should just point out, by the way, you're not actually driving. You are on the way back up the country, but you aren't driving.
No, I'm
How can people get involved with you if they do want to race a horse with you, Kylie?
Oh, give me a call. Give me a call. We can chat.
Well, what's the number?
027-664-4923.
And what, he is likely heading to Morphettville now for a South Australian Derby tilt. What will you do with him in the next month, and is that where you are heading?
Oh, well, we have yet to confirm anything. Obviously, we'll just get him home. He can have a week in the paddock, and then we'll just confirm plans. And yeah, just see really how he comes through today, and if we're going to go there.
Okay, very good. Well, a massive congratulations to you on yesterday's success. It was great to see, and we greatly appreciate you jumping on the show this morning. Go well, safe travels as well.
Thank you, guys.
Good stuff. Kylie Hoskin there, who trains Geneva, who got the success in the Group 3 Manawatu Classic from Circus Tricks, King Jackal Jane and Navy Dreams. And this was a fantastic win, and as we just heard from Kylie, clear to see what it means to her.
Yeah, she does such a wonderful job with her horses, Kylie. She's pretty meticulous. She's very hands-on, and I've watched her on a number of occasions with her horses at the races, and she does make sure everything is just right. He's a lovely horse in terms of watching him in the mounting yard, because he is all the things that Kylie said he is. He's a real gentleman. He conserves his energy really well. Look, ultimately, Rory Hutchings decided to take control of the race, and that's exactly what he did from the outset. The horse wasn't dynamic out of the barriers, but Rory sort of mustered enough speed to make sure that he got in a position that he was happy. He controlled the race, and he showed them a pretty clean pair of heels. So I thought, Emily, there were a couple of nice runs in behind, but we did talk earlier in the day. This probably was one of the races of the day at stakes level where there was a little bit of a tail to this field.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a number of nice horses in there. Circus Tricks, I thought, was really good. Obviously, ridden for luck by Malcolm McNabb, but in running was at the tail of the field. And obviously, as the day sort of progressed on, this was one of the first stakes races raced in before. We weren't 100% across what was unfolding with regards to the track. We had an inkling, but it wasn't sort of confirmed. So it sort of adds more merit to Circus Tricks' run. Ridden for luck came through runners, but closed it off really nicely. And I think King Jackal, who was having only broke the maiden last time to the races, was up to stakes company this afternoon, and I think that's a nice horse that you can follow forward. Obviously, Lightly Tried Type, who's relished that mile in the Manawatu Classic yesterday. If I Give was another genuine performance. There's some nice runs in behind of horses, 3-year-olds, and exciting to hear that obviously Geneva's going to head across the Tasman. I think there's a few of those that could have that potential late in the season.
Yeah, I think it's great for us in New Zealand that we're going to continue having horses represent us across the Tasman, so I wish Kylie all the best. Just touching on King Jackal, who you mentioned there, Emily, he was a galloper that got himself a little bit hot in the yard, and Kelly Meyer said he just was sort of on and off the steel during the running. So I think once he sort of grows up a little bit mentally and learns his ring craft a bit better, he's going to be a nice horse to follow. Just out of the steward's report around a lot ago, who had plenty of market support, he was backing up from last Saturday. Jonathan Riddell just sort of reported that he just wanted to lay on one rein and just didn't feel as genuine as what he had raced 7 days prior. So I think his recommendation was that perhaps the horse had come to the end of his preparation.
Okay, well, we can hear from some of the beaten jockeys, starting with Michael McNabb on board Circus Tricks.
Yeah, she runs super. Would have loved to have been able to hold a bit closer spot. Just the speed of the race had me uncomfortable early. But she's picked her way through and run really well. Got a bit of stakes placing for her breeding. So no, she's a lovely filly, and she'll improve off that again, I think.
Yeah, I'm really happy with him. I thought he ran super. He First time up over ground, he's a little bit on the keen time, but genuine pace helped him. Got a little bit held up across the top. Ideally, if I could have got going a little bit earlier, he definitely would have run second, but stoked with his run.
Yeah, it was a good run from him here. He's probably over-travelled a little bit with the soft track conditions and just felt towards the end he was feeling the pinch, but it was a good honest run.
And on to the staying feature we go now, the Awapuni Gold Cup. This is the Group 2, won by He's a Doozy from Opawa Jack, Crouch and Freddie Time, Jane. And the 9-year-old getting the success here out in front.
Yeah, he's been such a good horse for connections, hasn't he? He's a doozy. His 11th win, he's got over $800,000 in the bank, and again, a positive ride. Kelly Myers had him sitting right up on speed. Probably took over a little bit sooner than what she hoped in terms of being a bit of a sitting duck, but he was just full of running. He's a doozy and very strong in the finish. And obviously heard from trainer Lisa Ladder, it was an emotional victory for her with one of the part owners, Neville Thompson, recently passing away. So our thoughts obviously with his family and friends, and we talk about it all the time, how these things happen in racing, and she said he was probably riding him home all the way up the straight. So a really lovely result all around for He's a Doozy. Again, another race where it was a little bit messy, sort of in the middle stages. Anderson Bridge, he had a nice run in transit. He probably just didn't let down on a track with the sort of give in it that it had yesterday. I think he's one to forgive. I think he'll be back bigger and stronger next season. But yeah, look, Emily, I thought there was a couple of nice runs in behind, but he was just very dominant, wasn't he? He's a doozy.
Yeah, he was, and obviously it's a tracker, as we talked about, that's provided that Thorndon Mile victory back in 2023 and comes back and takes out the Awapuni Gold Cup. Obviously the beaten runners, well, as you mentioned, Anderson Bridge was one of the favourites and wasn't really able to deliver. Omega Boy was also in the mix, tried at the 2100 metres and just got sort of held up rounding the home turn and wasn't really a feature. And there was a couple of runs in there and behind, obviously, of horses that were wide throughout. Vicky's Margot, one of those. Of the good runs, Crouch made a lot of ground and really towards the line, finishing off into that placing. And obviously Freddie Time was also in the mix. With regards to the Odyssey, another horse just from the Stewards report, was held up early in the straight, but just wasn't really any excuses for the performance yesterday and maybe just ended the preparation.
Well, speaking of some of those ones in behind, let's hear from the beaten jockey, starting with Kate Hercock on Opawa Jack.
I thought it was a really good run, Jane. He's jumped fair. We've tried to get across, but we weren't going to get where we normally sit, so we've taken a spot back in behind high return with 3 wide with a cover. He's tracked nice. When Chris's horses started to give ground at the 600, we've just popped off his back and started to get the roll on, and he's just kept finding the old fart. He's just a cool horse, eh?
Yeah, he ran a massive race. Everything went to plan. We went a nice even gallop. I was just getting going on the line. It needs a bit further.
Tricky gate, got a bit further back than what I wanted, but she travelled really nicely and she hit the line really super.
I'm so happy for him. The track is not helping him today, a little bit soft, maybe heavy for him, but I'm very, very happy. Next season he'll be a very nice horse on the good track.
He's a Doozy, beat Opawa Jack, Crouch and Freddie Time in the Awapuni Gold Cup. We move along to the last race that we can take a look at out of Trentham. It is the listed Flying Handicap, won by Archaic Smile, Churchillian December and Latrell. And there was obviously a big delay before this race, and I know that both trainer Holly Wynyard and Jane were saying that Archaic Smile perhaps didn't look like it had handled the break that well, but boy, what a performance.
Yeah, really good performance, and actually really well deserved, because geez, Archaic Smile has run some good races in the 4-year-old season. Obviously won the Wellesley Stakes here at 2 when trained by Tony Pike, and has had great success at Trentham. Loves the big roomy track down there on the Champagne turf, but has performed well across that 3-year-old season as well. Group 2 Wellington Guineas, Group 3 Cambridge Breeders Stakes, placed in both of those, and has actually only finished worse than 4th twice at 4 years old. So very well-deserved victory. I know the Connections are thinking of heading towards that Group 3 Easter handicap potentially. Just that tried and tested story of horses on speed or very close to the speed, being able to finish it off strongly. Churchillian, was happy to let River Plate lead and was pretty brave. Hard horse to get past, but Archaic Smile's done that. The Scunner was held up briefly, but closed it off nicely. December was good, obviously, against the Biased coming down the middle of the track. And I think that was probably the deciding moment when they said, OK, let's put She's a Dealer in the race and for the James Wellwood team. Otherwise, there's sort of no point in being here. And it certainly worked in their favour. No risk, no reward. And that was the policy that was taken. But December, another horse that you can follow, running very consistently.
Yeah, very much so. Rightio, that wraps everything out of New Zealand. We will take a quick break. On the other side, we look at a few Group 1s out of Australia, and we will have our moments of the week and our Weight Watchers as well.
Salty Pearl after summer through the middle, but Belchevelle, the Kiwi filly, has just won. Pride of Jenny with the heart of a lioness, coming out of Light Infantry Man, a photo finish. Light Infantry Man's got up. Aliana is knuckling down. Deboyana, Aliana, lunge, got there. She's all heart. That was gutsy.
Yeah, another great day's Group 1 racing across the ditch. We don't have too much time, so we are going to have to pick and choose between them. We'll start with the Vinery Stud Stakes. This one by Belchevelle, as we've spoken about, from After Summer, Salty Pearl and I Hope He Wins. We saw the Archers bringing Belchevelle back, and fantastic for them to be able to get this Australian success again.
Yeah, wonderful, and such a thrill, and so well deserved. It was full of plenty of drama. It wasn't just a given thing because she ran around late, obviously, and then obviously we had After Summer with the late lunge to make it so interesting. There was an inquiry. All things equal, she comes out with the win, and it is so well deserved. Obviously, it's broken a drought of New Zealand trained gallopers with success across the Tasman. 2 years, I think, since Orchestral took out the Vinery Stud Stakes. So great to break that drought, and hopefully there's more wins to come. And as you mentioned, for David Archer, obviously Belchevelle has just a fantastic pedigree. Third stakes winner for her, Diamond Keeper Cheval, who is a half sister to champion sprinter and Mufasa, and obviously the Bostonian featuring heavily in that pedigree as well, and Cheval d'Or. So a beautiful pedigree by some wonderful people who invest heavily in thoroughbred racing. And those silks, they've achieved many things, and I'm sure the Vinery Stud Stakes will be right up there for the Archers.
There would have been plenty of eyes on I Hope He Wins as well in that race. What did you make of her performance?
Well, we sort of watched it, Jane and I actually watched it on track at Trentham yesterday, and we thought, has she come through that run in the Oaks too well? Is she a bit fresh? She was a lot closer to the speed than we'd seen previously, and she was quite keen up on the bridle, which we hadn't seen. Comments were pretty nil from James McDonald with jockey comments. He said she built nicely to the line. So I guess in terms of an Oaks, well, that's a pretty good indication. She might come out better for the run, but it doesn't really tell us a whole lot outside of that. But we know the quality that she's got, and if she trains on in any way and improves, even if she has freshened up, then she's going to be right in contention for the Oaks.
Absolutely. We did see, obviously, James McDonald, Chris Waller had that success in the Tancred with Aliana. We don't have time to delve into that race, so we'll move across to Flemington, take a look at the Group 1 Australian Cup here, Jane, and this would have been my moment of the week if Jenny had been able to hold on. What a race this was. Light Infantry Man beats Pride of Jenny by the smallest of margins.
It was one of the races of the day across Australasia. It's just such a privilege to watch Pride of Jenny race. She breaks their hearts, doesn't she? But broke all of our hearts when she didn't get the photo. When you look at her sectional, she's run 11-5, 11-4, 11-5, 11-6, 11-6. She wins her races in the first half of the races where she puts her opposition under just so much pressure. So, look, unfortunately, it wasn't her moment to shine yesterday, but Light Infantry Man, back-to-back Australia Cup Cups for him. So a great effort, and of course great training feat by Kieran Maher to train the Quinella Apulia. He was tough running third. He's had a big season heading over to Perth and running in the Perth Cup, coming back to Victoria. So a lot of merit in his run. Look, probably a couple of disappointing runs in behind. Birdman travelled like he was going to be right in the race, and he just really didn't find the line like we've seen in his last couple of efforts. And then I think you can probably forgive horses like a Lucy and Tom Kitten, who I think are actually probably better suited to a mile. Probably stretch out to 2,000 metres, but not when it's a really genuinely run 2,000 metres like it is when Pride of Jenny is obviously running sectionals early like she does. But one of the races of the day for me.
All right, well, I'm going to stay with you because we've got to get to our moments of the week, Jane, and you are up first.
Well, I'm going with Kylie Hoskins because I think firsts are always really special, and it was her first victory at stakes level with Geneva yesterday at Trentham, and just really well deserved. I think she's a fantastic horsewoman. As I said earlier, I've watched her with her horses on race day. She's meticulous, she's hands-on, she does so much work with them, and I think she's going to build a really nice stable in time, and she's doing a great job and very much the beginnings of her career as a trainer.
My moment of the week is split between Australia and New Zealand. Rachel Studd's success in the 2 Group 1s, obviously, was She's a Dealer, and then, of course, Eliana, and as we heard from John on the show today, also a stakes winner at Flemington. So the 2 Group 1s, Rachel Studd colours, and a wonderful mare in Eliana who was so tough. Awesome for them. What a weekend.
And mine is the Bergerson Quinella in the Manawatu Sires Produce Stakes. We obviously heard from Sam and we heard from Royden yesterday how tight-knit that family is, and you could see what it meant to both of them to be able to get success in this race, and the embrace here is outstanding. Got a lot of time for both of those men, and fantastic to see them get the Quinella in a Group 1 down at Trentham. Righty-ho, what about our weight watchers? Jane, I'll come to you first again.
I am going with my Gabrielle, who ran in the last race at Trentham yesterday, race number 9. He'd won on debut, headed to Trentham. You can see him on the fence in the green with the white cap. It did not get a crack at them at any point in the entire home straight. Opie did not persevere with him over the concluding stages, but really didn't have a race. He was travelling really well. I think if he'd got a bit of space, he would have been right in it. So follow him next time he goes to the races.
I went with Crouch, and I went with horses that were running on against the bias of yesterday, and I thought Crouch was really good and strong, and sort of could have run 4th or 5th, but doing its best work late as they hit the line from a long way back. So really like the run of Crouch from that Awapuni Gold Cup, and hopefully he can pick up a win shortly.
And in the first on the day, I thought War Queen also hit the line well. Her 5th start, first time she'd raced on anything other than a heavy track, and as I say, I thought she hit the line really well, heading towards the months probably in the track conditions that should suit her. So War Queen is my weight watcher out of a fantastic day's racing at Trentham. Rightio, that pretty much wraps everything here on Weigh In this morning. Fantastic to have your company. Thank you so much. We'll be back same time next week for another week's racing ahead. Go well.